I am Don Singletary and welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, we try and teach beginners how to learn to day trade the new Micro Emini futures because they are at 1/10 the size of regular futures. They are the most affordable way to learn how to trade futures contracts and how to day trade those things. And 90% of the people that try fail. And there's some reasons for that. I don't think it's entirely all their fault. When these people, the ones who stand on their balcony of the condo in Hawaii, overlooking the ocean with a Rolls Royce parked below, wave $100 bills in the air and show you their bank statements that are making $60,000, $80,000, $200,000 a month, I hope your BS detector rings loud and clear, because today I'm going to tell it like it is, and I think you're going to like this message because I'm going to feature a 9-minute trade where I made about $24. And then I'm going to show you how it could have been $240. And I'm going to talk to you about the number one mistake that people make when they practice trade. And it's really important. All that and more coming up next. Hit the like button so I can make the videos that you want to see. I've so been looking forward to having the live trade this week because I have two things that I really want to show you that are extremely important today. And I hope you'll get as excited about it as I am. Now, the screen on the page now, it's not live. It's a frozen screen. It's the very beginning of this trade that I'm going to feature today. And I wanted to slow things down for just a moment for several reasons. One of them, this screen that you're seeing right now, its entirety, I rarely show this in videos, but I want to tell you why. The reason is very simple. This area right here is the main trading area, and I zoom in on that so you'll have enough definition in the video to see what's going on. But in actuality, this is the screen that I'm looking at on my monitor as I trade. And over on the left side is my watch list right here. I see my live quotes along the top up there. And this area right here is what I usually feature in the videos, and then I will zoom in on certain parts of that. Now, the reason I bring this up, if you're a regular on the channel, this is probably, I hope, old hat to you, but beginners don't know these things unless you tell them, and I certainly want everybody to be able to follow along. Now, beginners, if you're not following today's video or some of the comments, be sure you look for the beginners playlist. I've arranged two playlists. They're free. They're 4 10-minute videos each, and it's under Beginners Playlist down in the text below the video. This is going to be, admittedly, a very small trade, but you learn small, then you can scale up to big later. We'll be talking about that more. February 19th, a Friday in 2021. Market opens on schedule at 9:30 Eastern Time and shoots right up. Now I'm going to start a trade up here at almost 11 o'clock, and I get a lot of people when I do trade like this. They said, why didn't you buy earlier, because it would have been a better time? Well, the truth is I wasn't there. 9:30 in the morning, I wish I had been, because look at this. Green line over the red line, both going over the zero line, and all that happening at the same time. That's a buy signal by the guidelines. They're not always right, of course. No one's guidelines are 100% right. They are just that, guidelines. Anyway, the market went up from 9:30 substantially. So I come in at a few minutes before 11 o'clock, and I see this, and I say, well, is there any more pep left into this market? Well, the daily trend, obviously, for from 9:30 to 11 o'clock is an hour and a half. This is all Eastern time. The market is definitely has a strong trend to go up today. So I'm going to come in and try to get a few points off the top of this upswing. Now, it does look right about here where the momentum is decreasing, but only slightly. I look over in the right scale right here, and I see the numbers are very positive and very far above the zero line. Now, what that means to me is that there's still some strength left in this upward move in the market this morning. And for sure, I don't want to short anything because it would be going against the trend of the day, which is very strongly up. I'm going to get right to the live trade in just a few seconds, but right now I want to show you these two pictures. See the guy on the left? He's leaning over the rail at his condo at the balcony, waving money to you. He's saying, you can be rich like me. All you got to do is read my book. I'll give you a formula, and then you can jump right into the market, trade, and get all the money I'm making. Just, by the way, send me $3,000 or $4,000, and I'll show you how. Now, the guy on the right is a professional cliff diver. He's at the World Championships in Italy, and he's 27 meters or 91 feet up in the air. If you go and stand there beside him, he would never tell you what, read my book. I've got a list of 10 pointers here for you, and I'll show you how I jump off the cliff. You give me $3,000, and I'll let you jump right now. Do you see how stupid that sounds? Now, today's live trade, I told you it's going to be 9 minutes long, and I'm going to make a whopping $24. That's not nearly enough. I don't think any other trading instructor will tell you to make a trade with a $10, $12, $15, $30, $40, $50, $75 profit is a lot of people. I've been criticized to say that's not nearly enough. Well, they just missed the whole point. The whole point of this channel, and as far as I'm pretty sure we're the only channel that does this, we want to teach home investors how to trade these micro E-minis. These are very risky stock index futures at their 1/10 small size, because if you can learn to make $24, you can make $240 just as easily. And to show that point, I have up on the screen now two futures contract specifications. The top one is the E-mini Russell 2000, and the one on the bottom is the Micro E-mini, which is only 1/10 the size of the one on the top, the E-mini. The E-mini's up top, and then the Micro E-mini. And the Micro E-minis weren't even invented, or introduced, I should say, until May of 2019. And they've been one of the most successful futures index equity contracts ever by the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And what I'm talking about today is to show you why that is. They're 1/10 the size. So that means you only risk 1/10 the money. Let me show you. Right here on the regular E-mini now, this is not the micro, on the top line there is the E-mini Russell. And the margin for this is $7,150. Now, a lot of people cannot yet afford to trade that contract, much less 4 or 5 of them at one time. And that's the way things were before May of 2019. It was an expensive proposition. It was risky. In your first trade, you could really lose a lot of money. You could blow up your account before you ever learn what to do. That's why the failure rate was 90%, I think. That and the fact that so many instructors don't tell people what I think is a better version of the truth, where you can use these 1/10 size contracts and be able to develop confidence. After all, you're learning a lot when you begin to trade futures. You're learning the terms, the jargon, the software, some of the math involved. You have to learn how to read your trade signal indicator and put all those things together into some experience. You know, a pilot doesn't prepare to fly a plane by reading a book, and you can't you can't learn to trade just by reading a book. You have to have that experience. It's just one of those things. Read a book about driving a car doesn't mean you know anything about really driving it. So we get this chance with these smaller 1/10 size contracts. Now look at the bottom line. On the Micro E-mini, the margin is $715. That's 1/10 of the $7,150. But there's more good news, because of the $715, you only have to put up about 25% of that. And that's about $178 to intraday trade one of these Russell 2000 Micro E-mini contracts. And in doing that, we're going to learn to trade small, and where you can handle the risk and the money loss when you have losing trades, and believe me, you will, when you're learning how to trade. This has never been available until the last 2 years. As soon as I found out about it, I wrote my book, the Day Trading Introduction book, And also I started the YouTube channel, and now we have over 7,500 subscribers and almost 400,000 views in the last 10 months. So let's get into today's trade. I'll show you how to make the $24. And then you can imagine, had you been trading the E-mini instead of the Micro E-mini, that $24 would have been $240. Now, that's where you want to go. You want to be able to scale up and do that. But first, take it easy, play it safe, trade with the micros until you're confident that you can make money with this thing, and then scale up. If you don't, it'll cost you a lot of money and a lot of frustration. And we've already done the setup on this trade earlier in the video. I simply just bought one of the Micro E-mini Russell 2000 futures contracts. And the market's been in a lull for a few minutes, but I was convinced, for reasons I've already cited, that we're going to get some more upward action here, and that this run, although the momentum may be down slightly, still has a little bit of pep in it. So I'm long at 22.62.40, and I put a stop in at about 22.60, not about, but exactly at 22.60. I want to risk 2.4 points, $12 or so on the trade. So that's the worst thing that can happen now, is I'm going to lose $12. 2 minutes into the trade, I'm using that click and drag in the Tastyworks software. I can just hold the left mouse button down and move my stop order up and down, and the moment I let go of the left mouse button, that enters the order at the new stop market price on here. You recall, stop market order is if it trades that trigger price, that's the name of the order, and it becomes a market order, and you get the next available price in the market. And we're trading only up to 22.64 right now, and I'm in this thing at 22.62.40. And of course, my number one thing, rule number one, is I'm looking for ways. I'm not so worried about how much money I'm going to make. I'm looking for ways to reduce the risk on the trade. And now my stop market order is over where I bought this contract at, so that means I cannot lose any money on this trade. It's essentially a free trade now. Now this thing's trading up at 22.67. And I'm up some money in this thing, and I use that click and drag feature again there. And this time I moved the stop up to 22.64. Now I've got a little profit locked in. It's not a lot. We're 8 minutes into the trade. There's been no drawdown. And now we're trading up to 22.67, 68 in that area up there. So I'm moving my stop in behind it because I do not want to give up the money, the unrealized profits that I have in a trade right there. 22, moving it again, 22.67.3 now. That's where the stop is. And we're up $28 in the trade, 28.50, somewhere in there. And bam, we're out of the trade. I got stopped out. I moved that stop order up where it was really close behind it because, remember, I'm getting the tail end of this move in this trade, so I don't expect maybe a lot from it, but I wanted to take some of it, and I used my stop market and moved it up kind of aggressively until I was stopped out, and I made a little money on the trade without taking any risk, hardly. I think I risked $12.50 was the most money I had risked on the trade through the whole thing. Now, one of the things that happened in this trade is one of the things you can strive for in your practice trading. You see, I had no drawdown. I tried to wait till I found a big enough trend. If I was a surfer, a big enough wave that I know it's not going to die the moment I hop onto it. And that's kind of what the trend is, and this had a strong trend for the day, which I talked about. The return on investment, and keep your socks on now because don't get that excited. It was $24.50 return on $178 in 9 minutes. That's a 26.5% return in 9 minutes. Sounds astronomical, and it kind of is because we're trading at a 50-to-1 leverage. But there's no way you're going to get that kind of return on all the money in your account. So that's why I said you can keep your socks on. And one of the things you should remember too, if we had been trading that regular sized E-mini, Russell 2000 E-mini, instead of the micro, we would have made $245 in the 9 minutes. We would have done it with the same stats, no drawdown, possible $290. We captured 84% of it. And we made the same percentage return on the money, only it was bigger. Now, there is a step that you'll be taking in between trading one micro contract and one E-mini contract. The micro is 1/10 size. So I often on the channel here usually only trade 1 or 2 or 3 contracts because I want to keep the channel here on what you should be practicing until you learn. Now, once you learn it and have the experience, I guess you probably won't need me anymore because you'll have the confidence and experience to be able to get into this thing and make some money as you scale up. I was about to say, you don't have to go from one E-mini contract to one micro E-mini contract up to the full 10 times larger E-mini contract. You can trade 2 or 3 or 4 contracts of the micro and gradually get yourself up. As your account balance grows, and hopefully it will, your confidence will also grow, and your ability to watch the money fluctuate. When you first start, if you start with that big E-mini contract and you don't know what you're doing yet, and you're up $200 or $300 or down $200 or $300 in a few seconds, it can be very startling. But once you get in the saddle and get some experience with this, the goal is to scale up one day. But we keep the practice here on the channel on these live trades that I actually do. We keep them down here on the low end of all that, so you can get some insight as to what you're trying to do here in order to be able to learn to trade the stock index futures. Now, I promised at the beginning of the video I would talk about the number one mistake that people made or make when they're practice trading, and I want to spend just a moment or two on that before we end the video today. Okay, the number one mistake that almost everybody makes when they start practice trading, no matter what kind of practice trading, whether you're doing it with a ledger or software, the CME simulator, it doesn't matter. But the number one mistake, it's so extremely common, and I don't hear people talking about it, that is people that train people how to trade. If you're an airline pilot and you're going to be piloting a Boeing 747, you don't go into a flight simulator for a B-1 bomber. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. If you practice using money bigger, increments and contracts bigger than the ones you're actually going to be trading, you wind up practicing the wrong thing because the strategy is a little bit different for the larger contracts. Now, if you can trade the smaller ones, actually, I think the larger ones are easier to trade. But they're not easier when you're beginning because having your account go down a week's pay in a few 30 seconds, like my first trade that I told you about in my book, that's just scary stuff, and you don't want to do that. So practice what you're going to be doing. It's really that simple. Practice these baby step trades and making $10, $20, $50, $40 at a time. It's okay to trade small because this is your learning time. This is not the time to dive in the deep end of the pool until you know what you're doing and understand the terms and everything. But it just makes sense. But so many trainers are trying to sell systems, and they're telling people about all the money they're going to make. They should be emphasizing, in my opinion, rule number 1, you should learn how to save your account, how to protect your account money, and you can do that with the micros by trading small. And if you lose a few trades, most people, they can afford it. If you really can't afford to lose 20 bucks, you shouldn't be trading this at all. But I hope you know what I'm saying is that you're gonna take some lumps along the way. Paying a little tuition is what they call it, and that's okay. It's part of the learning process. So I hope that thought helps you out, and remember to practice what you're going to be doing once you get to real money, or the practice you're doing won't be what happens when you start trading real money. It's really that simple. Well, I had a great time with the trade today, and I hope it gave you some food for thought. Remember to check out the Tastyworks link below if you want to know more about the broker that I use in the videos on the channel. And I don't charge for the videos on the channel. I put them all up free, and the book sales support that amazingly. And I really do appreciate your support on that matter. And I do think having the books makes it easier and faster to learn, because you've got all the definitions and jargon and most of those things all in one place you can refer to. And if you get the paperback, you can carry it around and do some extra reading if you want to. I'm Don Singletary. I hope every day is a payday for you. And thank you.